Hello, Year 5. Welcome to Maths. Today, these are the things that you'll need for this lesson. You're going to need a pencil, a rubber, ruler, some paper. You'll need 4 colouring pencils and either a printout of your independent tasks or 3 squares that you prepared. So what you'll need is 1 square with the long strips below, and then you'll need 200 squares. You can draw them on your sheet of paper, 10 centimeters in length, which should be fine. When you've got all of that, make sure that you've found a place that's quite quiet, where you'll be able to concentrate and where you'll be free from any distractions. So today we are going to identify, name and write equivalent tenths and hundredths. The first thing that I would like you to do is to complete the do now. 1. What fraction of the counters is circled? 2. What fraction of the counters is not circled? 3. What fraction of the square is shaded green? 4. What fraction of the circle is green? And 5. What fraction of the triangle is yellow? Sorry, that should be rectangle. What fraction of the rectangle is yellow? Pause once you've finished and we'll correct them together. So number 1 is 1/4. Number 2 is 3/4. Number 3 is 8/32. Number 4 is 2/8. And number 5 is 4/16. Let's get started. We have a number line and a bead string here. What does 1 bead represent? Yeah, good. It represents 1. What do 10 beads represent? Good. It represents 10. So there are 100 beads on this bead string. What does the whole bead string represent? Yeah, 100. Excellent. But now I'm going to limit you. So I'm going to put 0 at the beginning of my number line and then 1 at the end of it. So now, what does 1 bead represent? So I know that there are 100 beads and I'm looking at one of them. So yeah, 1/100. What about 10 beads? So again, I have 100 beads, and then I'm looking at 10. So that would be 10/100. Cool. So this is 1/100 and 10/100. The whole has been divided into 100 equal parts. So if 1 part represents 1/100, 10 beads equals 10/100. Now, I can either think of a number of my number line or my bead string being divided into 100 equal parts, but I can also think about them being divided into 10 equal parts. So 10 beads can be represented as 1/10. How can I represent half? With your finger, just hover over where you think halfway is, or half of the bead string. Keep your finger there and we'll see if you're right. There you go. Your finger by the arrow. Good job. How do you know that it's half? Yeah, because there are two equal parts. The denominator tells us how many equal parts there are. Now, if we look at one equal part, and we have 100 in total, how many beads do we have in 1/2? Good, 50. So we have 50 hundredths. Now, we can see that it's also divided into 10 equal parts. How many tenths are there in half? Good, 5/10. So we can write 5/10 is equal to 1/2, which is also equal to 50 hundredths. Now, how can I represent 1/4? Again, put your finger over where you think a quarter would be. Are you ready? Let's see if you're right. Great. So this is 1/4. How many beads are there in 1/4? So we have 100 beads in total. How many do we have in 1/4? Good, 25. So how would we write that as a fraction? 25 hundredths. Excellent, well done. Now, how can I represent 1/5? Let's think about the language of dividing into 5 equal parts. I have 100 beads and I would have to divide them into 5. Where would 1/5 be? Just place your finger over where you think that might be. And let's see if you're right. Great, this is 1/5. How many beads are there in each fifth? Let's count. We have 10, 20. Good, we have 20 beads out of 100. So we have 20 hundredths. Now let's take a look at how many tenths there are. Good, there are 2 tenths. So 1/5 is the equivalent of 2 tenths, which is the equivalent of 20 hundredths. Now, what is the value of 60 beads and how could we represent this as a fraction? So you can pause the video if you want to try and work it out, and then I'd like you to place your finger over where you think 60 beads may be. Unpause it when you're ready. Good, so this is where 60 would be. How did you get it? Now, we have 60 beads here. How can we say this is a fraction? Good, we have 60 beads out of 100, so we can say 60 hundredths. Tell me how many tenths there are. And how would you say that as a fraction? Great. So we have 6/10. I wonder if you know how to say it as a decimal. Remember, we've placed 0 and 1, so it definitely won't be over 1. We have 60 hundredths, 6/10. Good. It will be 0.6. I've written 0.60 because it shows us that we have 6/10 and 0 hundredths. But we don't really need the 0, so we can easily write it as 0.6. What is the value of 45 3 beads, and how would we represent that as a fraction? Hold your finger over 43 and let's see if you get it right. Great job, 43 is here. So how would we say it? Can you say it as a fraction? 43 hundredths, great. And how would we say that as a decimal? Good, 0.43. Can we represent this as a tenth? Can we represent 43 hundredths as a tenth? No, we can't, because there isn't an equivalent tenth. How can we represent 4 fifths? Again, think about what the denominator is telling us, and that's telling us what? Good, how many equal parts there are, and then how many parts we are looking at. Put your finger over where you think we'd find 4 fifths. Okay, so let's take a look. The denominator, tells us how many equal parts there are. So I have 100 beads and I need 5 equal parts. So if I divide 100 by 5, I know that there would be 20 beads in 1/5. So this would be, bear with me one moment. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. So we have 4 sets of 20 beads. Great. How else could I write that? How about as a tenth? How many tenths would that be? Yeah, absolutely. 8 tenths. Now let's take a look at the relationship between the numerator and the denominator. What do I need to do to 4 to get 8? Yeah, I would multiply it by 2. 4 times 2 equals 8. What about 5? What's the relationship between 5 and 10? What would I need to do to 5 to get 10? Yes, I'd need to multiply it by 2. Notice that whatever I do to the denominator, I do to the numerator, and vice versa. So your task now is to represent the following fractions as tenths or hundredths on the bead string. Pause the video, and then when you're ready, return and we'll go over the answers together. Welcome back. Let's go through. Now these are quite simple because we have 100 beads and we can see that 23 hundredths would be here, 23 beads, and 78 hundredths would be here, 78 beads. The rest of the fractions are slightly trickier, so I'd have to convert them to tenths or hundredths. So let's take a look. 2 tenths would be, 2 fifths would be 4 tenths. I'd have to multiply 5 by 2 to get 10, and therefore have to multiply my numerator 2 by 2 to get 4. Now I'm going to take a look at 3/4. There isn't really a connection between 4 and 10, but I know that I can multiply 4 by 25 to get 100. Whatever I do to the bottom, I need to do to the top. 3 times 25 equals 75, which gives me 75 hundredths. 3 fifths equals 6 tenths. 1 25th equals 4 hundredths. 1 50th equals 2 hundredths. And 1 20th equals 5 hundredths. I wonder if you can tell me where they go along this bead string. Which one is the smallest of these 6 fractions? Which one is the smallest? Tell me now. What's the first one? Good. 200th, and it would be pointing at 2 B's. What would the next one be? This is the next one here. Good. 400ths. Well, what about the next one? They're all quite close together. Excellent. 500ths. What about this one here? Good. 4/10. And this one? Yep. 6/10. And this one? Yes, 7500ths. Well done. Now, let's take a look at this. How can we represent 5/20ths? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I have 20 equal parts. If I colour 5 parts, this is what it would look like. How else can we represent that as a fraction? Right, 1/4. Now take a look at the 100th square. How can we represent 5/20ths in the 100th square? So I would try to visualize and make a connection with the quarter and shade that in. Can you see how many of the 100 squares are coloured in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 25. So 25 hundredths are coloured in. So we can say that 5/20ths is the equivalent of 25 hundredths and 1/4. Let's take a look at these equivalent fractions and the relationships. So the relationship between 5 and 25. What must I do to 5 to get 25? Tell me. Yes, multiply it by 5. Remember, whatever I do to my numerator, I must also do to my denominator, but I can see that. What's the relationship between 20 and 100? What do I need to do to 20 to get 100? Yes, multiply by 5. Good job. Let's see if you can do this. 25 hundredths equals 1/4. Am I going to multiply this? I've started with 25 and I have 1. So I know that the answer that I have here is much lower than the number that I started with. So am I going to multiply? No, because I always have a greater number when I multiply. What must I do to 25 to get 1? Good, I need to divide by 25. Nice and easy. 100 divided by 25 equals 4. So again, whatever I do to the denominator, I must do to the numerator. Now, what fraction is shaded? Take a look at the square on the left. Can you tell me how many equivalent parts there are and how many of those equivalent parts have been shaded? Good. So now think about the numerator and the denominator. And how would I say that? Tell me. 1, 2, 3. Good. 5/25. Now I'd like you to think about the equivalent for the hundredths. Try and visualize these squares on top of the hundreds and try and calculate how many squares would be shaded. You can pause the video and unpause when you're ready. Let's take a look. What was it? Good. It's 20 hundredths. So we have 4 squares, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Excellent. Now, we can also rearrange them to look like this. What fraction of this square is shaded? Yeah, excellent. It is 1/5. Okay. Let's take a look at the relationship between 5 and 20, and 25 and 100. 5, 20. I need to multiply 5 by what? Yeah, 4. Good. To get 20. What must I multiply 25 by? 4 as well to get 20. That's right. Now let's take a look at this. 20 through to 1, 100 through to 5. What must I do? Yeah, divide it. Absolutely. So I'm dividing it by 20. 20 divided by 20 equals 1. 100 divided by 20 equals 5. So this is your second task. On the square below, we're going to shade the following fractions using 3 different colours. You're going to shade all of these fractions in the same square. So you're going to colour half of the shape, and then I'd like you just to shade the colour that you're colouring it in there. You're going to shade 1/5 in a different colour, and then 1/10 in a third colour. Then I'd like you to write down what fraction of the shape hasn't been shaded and been left blank. I'd also like you to write the equivalent fractions below over here. When you finish that, I'd like you to move on to your 100 square, and I'd like you to do the same thing. So colour in 1/4 in one colour, 2/5 in another, 1/10 in the third colour, and 1/20 in the fourth colour. They should all fit in one square. And again, I'd like you to write what fraction of the shape has been left blank, and also any equivalent fractions. The third one is up to you. So you have your 100 square, and you can choose any fraction to shade in. It can be a 10th or a 100th. And I'd like you to write any equivalent fractions. When you've finished, come back and we'll go through the answers together. So you've finished, welcome back. Let's go through them. Right, so we've coloured half of the shape. That should be 5 strips. We have coloured in pink, or perhaps a different colour that you've chosen. We've coloured 1/5 of the shape, so that should be 2 strips in another colour, and then 1/10, so that should be 1 strip here. You have 2/10 have been left blank, and that's the equivalent of 1/5 or 20 hundredths. Now let's take a look at your 100 square. This is 1/4, that's 25 squares. You have 2/5 of the shape here, that's 40 squares, and then 1/10, which is 10 squares, and then 5 for 1/20. 20 hundredths of the shape has been left blank, and the equivalent fractions are 2/10, 4/20, or 1/5. I can't see the third one, but we'll see them once you've posted them to Seesaw. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you for our next lesson. Bye.